Alright, what's going on today, YouTube? Welcome back to your favorite cyclist YouTube channel and this week's Bike Quick Talks. Now, what are we talking about today? Today we're answering one of those important questions I know that you have asked or you've heard someone ask is, should I buy a new bike or should I upgrade my old bike that I've had for years and just upgrade it and make it new? That's a very good question. I'm going to answer that and help you guys answer that question for yourselves in this Bike Quick Talk. But before we get started, if you are not subscribed to my channel, make sure you head down below, hit that subscribe button. And if you already are subscribed, make sure you hit the little bell icon next to that. That way you get notified every time I upload. That way you don't miss any awesome cycling content going on this channel. So, on to the main subject here. Should you buy a new bike or should you upgrade an old bike of yours? So, for demonstration purposes, I got my good old trusty Trek 3700 here. This bike here is a 2009 model, so it is an older bike. Well, it's 2021 now, so it's 11 years old, so it's 12 years old. Oh my goodness. This bike's like 12 years old, so it is an older bike. And then I have newer bikes, obviously like my Superfly, which is about, that's only 6 years old. That's an old bike too. But you get my picture. Should you keep your old bike and just upgrade it, or should you buy a new one? Well, we're gonna go through some of the main questions you should ask yourself when you're going to really decide whether you need a new one or whether you're okay upgrading the old one. First question you wanna ask yourself is, what am I planning on doing with my bike? Am I looking to do something above and beyond what the capabilities of my old bike are? Do I need a new bike to tackle that kind of terrain or that kind of riding? So in my case, originally this Trek 3700 was bought as pretty much a light trails bike and a lot of kind of road riding. I was still in school then. So that's pretty much the purposes there. It was light trails, mainly road. And this worked pretty good. This worked great for that purpose. It had kind of a combo off-road, on-road tire on here when I bought it. So that worked really well for that purpose. Going on from this though, when I started to look for a new bike, I started to go, well, is this bike here with 26-inch wheels, about an 80mm fork, is this bike really gonna do good for me in the future? And I said, well, at the time I went, well, I'm just looking to do a little bit more racing, a little bit more into it. So sure, I did some upgrades. It's got some XTR brakes on here. It's got a fork on here. But really, ultimately, I went, well, is this bike really gonna get me where I want to be going for riding? And ultimately I said, no, I can't get this bike to that point without spending a lot of money on this bike. So from that point, I moved on to my Trek Superfly, which is hanging up there. And that bike was pretty much a sole off-road bike. 29-inch wheels, 120mm fork. So a lot more aggressive to off-roading. And it also was a cross-country race bike when I was racing cross-country. So that's why I got that bike. And then moving on from that, when I decided to buy my road bike, which is right up here, when I decided to get that, I was starting to get into riding on the road. I'd done like 60-mile rides on my mountain bike on the road, which is insane. It's unheard of. You don't do that. Don't do that. Buy a road bike. So I thought, well, can I get tires on my Superfly? Is that going to make it that much worth it for me to do a century ride on my mountain bike? Ultimately, the answer was no, because you don't really want to do a century ride on a mountain bike. You can. Don't recommend it on the road. So that's why I decided to get my road bike, because I needed something that was more purpose-built for what I was looking to do. So that's the first question you have to ask is my bike currently going to get me where I want to be or where I want to go and do what I want to do? The answer is yes, cool. Move on to your next step. If the answer is no, buy a new bike. Get a new bike. Next question you have to ask yourself is, are bike parts still readily available for my bike? Is everything still within standards of what modern mountain bikes or modern road bikes are? Such as, does your bottom bracket still exist? Or have they upgraded multiple different standards? Does your stem and bars make any sense? Does your fork make sense? Does your wheel size make sense? Those are a lot of questions you have to ask yourself, because really it's going to come down to parts availability for your bike. If parts aren't available for your bike, or good upgrade parts aren't available for your bike, well, you're kind of out of luck. You're not upgrading your bike with that setup, because you're either going to spend a ton of money on bike upgrade parts, or your bike's really not going to get upgraded at all because there's nothing out there for it. Such as this bike, it has V-brakes on here. I have the highest level V-brakes you can get. I have XTR V-brakes on here. The upgrade from there is disc brakes. The frame isn't set up for disc brakes on this bike. So you kind of run into that, but you'll never be able to run disc brakes on your bike with this specific frame. So something to think about there. Second one, are there upgrades or are there parts readily available for my style of bike? Last one you really want to go through is there any sentimental attachment to this bike? That's always one with anything you have in life. Is there a sentimental attachment to this bike that would make me want to keep riding this bike or continue to keep this bike? Very good question, right? As you can tell, I got my grandfather's Sears bike up there. Keep it kind of regular, keep it kind of factory, really. Nothing done to it. It's just original. This bike here was my first ever bike shop mountain bike, really. So this one has a little bit of sentimental attachment. That's why I still have it 12 years later. It's because it has a lot of sentimental attachment to it, even though I have bikes that have replaced it. Now this bike here, like I said, has sentimental attachment. So there's certain things I have changed on it that really you wouldn't really change ever if you don't have sentimental attachment to it. This bike, if I didn't care about it, I wouldn't have done anything to this. Instead, what have I done? I've upgraded the wheels. I plopped on new handlebars, new stem here, new fork. It has all these new parts on there that really should never be on this bike in the first place. But I put them on there because I enjoy having this bike and riding it. Now, are there other bikes in that case that have replaced that? Sure. You know, my Superfly, my road bike, my dirt jumper, all those bikes are much more purpose built for the specific things that I want to do. This bike really is just a kind of cruise around town bike now. It doesn't go, I don't really do trails on it, don't ride on the road really. So if you do have sentimental attachment to your bike, you kind of have two options from there. First one is, do I want to keep this bike, upgrade it, make it so I can continue riding and do what I need to do with it? Or number two, do I go ahead and buy a new bike because I want to keep the bike that I have sentimental attachment to as simple as can be and as basic and as original as can be? Really, answer one of those. That's going to be determined whether you should get a new bike or keep the one you currently have. But that's what, with sentimental attachment, if you say yes to everything all the way down and you get to that third question of does that sentimental attachment, that's really about as far as you need to make it. If you have sentimental attachment to your bike, you're going to keep the bike. That's end of story. You're going to keep it, and you're either going to keep it as it is, original, or you're going to upgrade it. So those are some things to think about when you're looking to see if you should upgrade your bike or keep it original. Hope this helped you guys out. If you have any other questions or comments, please let me know down in the comment section below. Love hearing from you guys, love answering any questions and chatting with you guys in the comments section. And of course, if you guys like this video, give it a big thumbs up, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching today.